Good day, fourth graders. Today we are going to review for your quiz coming up this week. So let's take a look at our first problem. It says 45 times 4. And the way we are going to solve this problem is using partial products. We are going to break up this 45 into 40, the value of its tens, and 5. The value of its ones. And what we are going to do is instead of simply multiplying 45 times 4, we are first going to do the 40 times 4 and then the 5 times 4. We are going to multiply separately so we can get our partial products. And 40 times 4, well, we may not know it off the bat, but we may know what 4 times 4 is. And yeah, that's going to be 16. 16. And as we studied before, if there's 1 0 at the end of our factors, we can add 1 0 at the end of our product. So let me go ahead and fix that 6 there so it looks more like a 6. And our first partial product is 160. Next up, we want to do 5 times 4, which we know is 20, which we know is 20. And then we add our partial products to get our final answer. So when we add 160 plus 20, let's also make sure that our ones, tens, and hundreds are lined up. See, my ones are lined up with my zeros, my tens are lined up with my 6 and my 2, and my 1 is my only hundreds digit. So our answer is 0 plus 0, well, that's 0. 6 plus 2, that's 8. And 1 plus nothing is 1. So 45 times 4 is 180. 180, I should say. Let's do the same for the next problem. 84, we're going to break it up into tens and ones. And if there were hundreds, we would break it up into hundreds, tens, and ones, okay? But there's only tens and ones. So 84, we're going to break it up into 80, 80, and 4. 80 and 4, okay? And we're going to multiply both of those numbers by what we're multiplying 84 by. We're multiplying it by 5. So let's multiply 80 times 5. And let's multiply 4 times 5. Okay? And the same thing like with the last problem. We may not know what 80 times 5 is, but we sure do know what 8 times 5 is. 8 times 5 is 40. And since we have an extra 0 here at the end of our 80, we can add an extra 0 at the end of our partial product. Okay? And 4 times 5 we know is 20. Notice how I'm lining up my digits. My ones are in my ones column, my tens are in my tens column, and my hundreds are all alone. Okay? So 0 plus 0 once again is 0. 0 plus 2 is 2. And 4 plus nothing is 4. So 420 is our answer for 84 times 5. 420. Okay, let's move on to the next problem. Here we have 234 times 8. So this time we have to break up 234 into 3 numbers. Our hundreds are worth 200. Let me fix those zeros. Our hundreds are worth 200. Our tens are worth 30. And our ones are worth 40. 230 and 4 combined to make 234. And we're going to multiply all of these 3 numbers by 8, the number we're multiplying, the one-digit number we're multiplying in our problem. So let's multiply this by 8. Let's multiply this by 8. And let's multiply this by 8. Okay, 200 times 8. Whoa, that's going to be a big number. That's probably going to be the biggest number on this page thus far. So we may not know 200 times 8, but we sure do know 2 times 8. We know that's equal to 16. Uh-oh, running out of room here. I'm going to write a little bit smaller. Okay. And we also have 2 extra zeros. So we're going to add 2 extra zeros at the end of our answer. Looks like I'm going to cover number 4 a little bit, but we should still be able to fit this in here. Okay. So we have 1,600. And my comma heroes, don't worry, I didn't forget. We can put a comma there. All right. Now the next problem says 30 times 8. We may not know 30 times 8, but we sure do know we can do 3 times 8. 3 times 8 is 24. 24. 24. Notice I didn't put my 2 under my 1. I put my 2 under my 6 because I wanted 2 to be in the hundreds column. And then we have an extra 0 here, so we add an extra 0 at the end of our answer. Okay? And then our last partial product is going to be 32 because 4 times 8 is 32. And I will make sure to put it in the right column so I can add these numbers correctly. Okay? All right. So for example, I don't want the 3 to appear here is what I'm saying. I want the 3, since it's 3 in the tens column, I want it to appear in the tens column in my answer. Okay? 0 plus 0 plus 2, we know is 2. 0 plus 4 is 4. 4 plus 3 is 7, so we know 7 here. 6 plus 2 is 8. And 1, we just bring down. 1 plus nothing is 1. My comma heroes, I didn't forget. We have a comma here. Okay, so our answer to 234 times 8 is 1,872. Okay, let's move on to the next problem. It is 1,948 times 3. So now we're multiplying a 4-digit number by a 1-digit number. 4 digits are in 1,948, and 1 digit is the 3. So we're going to do the same strategy, but it's going to take a little bit more writing and a little bit more space, class. 1,948. I'm going to move a little bit up so I have enough space. I know I need to break that up into 1,000. That's the digit in my thousands place. 1,000. I'm going to need 9 hundreds. So I'm going to write 9. Oops. I'm going to write 900. I know I have 48, so I'm going to write 40. And then I have 8 ones, so I'm going to write 8. These are the 4 numbers I'm going to break 1,948 into. And if you ever want to check, you can always add these numbers to see if they add to that, to make sure you split it up properly. And you can also check to make sure each digit in this number is represented in your splitting up. Okay? Unless there's a 0 here, in which case you would skip that digit, but that's for another day. All right, so we're going to multiply each of these numbers by 3 because we're multiplying 1,948 times 3. So let's multiply 1,000 by 3. Some of you may already know that. Let's multiply 900 by 3. Let's multiply 40 by 3. And let's multiply 8 by 3. Okay. And it turns out that 1,000 times 3 is 3,000. Okay, 3,000. If you are unsure about why it's 3,000, we know that 1 times 3 is 3, and we have 3 zeros here, so we'll add 3 zeros at the end of our answer. Okay, next up, we have 900 times 3. We know 9 times 3 is going to be 27. 27, okay, and we have 2 extra zeros, so we'll add 2 zeros at the end of our answer. Comma heroes, don't worry, I didn't forget. We have our comma there. Okay, how about 40 times 3? Some of us may not know right off the bat what 40 times 3 is, but we should know what 4 times 3 is. 4 times 3 is 12, and we have 1 0 at the end, so we'll add 1 0 at the end of our problem, at the end of our partial product, I should say. And 8 times 3 is 24. Now, I'm going to make a mistake here. I know 8 times 3 is 24, so I'm going to put 24 right here. And you should have caught the mistake right away. This 4 is in my ones place, so it should be in my ones column. Let me go ahead and correct that mistake. The 4 should be here in my ones column, and my 2 should be in my tens column. Now I'm going to add these numbers to get our final answer. Okay, 0 plus 0 plus 0 is nothing, plus 4 gives me 4. So I'll put 4 here. Oops, scroll down by accident. 4 here. Okay, 0 plus 0 plus 2 is also 4. 7 plus 1 is 8. And 3 plus 2 is 5. So our answer to 1,948 times 3 is 5,844. Oops, let me correct that. 44.